Who is the greatest Formula One driver of all time? Now, ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to break it right down. We're getting right into it. Ayrton Senna versus Michael Schumacher. To me, they are the top two of all time. Now, you might disagree with me, you might agree with me, I don't know. But I'm going to reveal today who is the greatest and why.
Walsh running the Irish green, and look at the move, he's making down to the inside.
Moves to the front, what a move from fifth all the way to the lead in lap one.
Walsh takes win number 2.
Peter. Walsh. Now, okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's break this whole down. Did I just speak English there? Anyway, it doesn't matter. Okay, so Ayrton Senna. Let's start with our boy here, Ayrton Senna. So guys, I've got the stats open here. Yes, he's only won 3 championships. Yes, he passed away, unfortunately, too early. Way too early. Schumacher went on to win 7. Now, we'll come back to that in a second. Ladies and gentlemen, he had 161 starts. 3 world championships in 1988, 1990, and 1991. We're talking about Senna here. 41 wins. Now, he had a 25.47% win rate. That is incredible. Pole positions, 65. 40% rate. Podiums, he's got 80. Fastest laps, 19. Now we'll literally call them out in just a moment here versus Senna versus all that. But, ladies and gentlemen, there's times when a man just breaks through. A man who defies all logic. And in Ayrton Senna, when he won that Brazilian Grand Prix, stuck in 5th gear, sweet divine Jesus Christ. Imagine, guys, even if you're an accountant, you're blindfolded sitting at a table and you're trying to figure out your balance sheet or profit and loss, and yet you do it perfectly. Blindfolded. Now, I'm no accountant, but imagine that scenario. This man should not have been able to have driven past 3rd gear after his incident in Brazil. I mean, guys, and I've actually talked about this before. Imagine, we've all been there, right? When you're sitting in your road car. Now, imagine you're sitting in a road car at a red light. Light goes green, you take off. Sometimes it's in the wrong gear. Now, most of the time, you probably have it in 3rd gear, and the car is right, and it can even stall, right? It can cut off on you. Imagine being that in 5th gear. Now, Senna wasn't stalled, okay? He wasn't coming from a standstill when he was at Brazil at the time. But even those 2 tight chicanes, he was down to probably about 45 miles an hour. Now, guys, even if you were in 1st or 2nd, which in those 2 corners with Senna, he had a 6-speed gearbox, right? Manual stick shift, okay? A lot harder than Tiptronic, believe you me. And even for him, I think he probably would have been in 2nd gear. Now, of course, depending on the car, guys, and the gearing, of course. But I think he probably would have been in 2nd gear for those corners, okay? So not 1st. So he had still, that 2nd gear, bit of traction, okay? Bit of momentum and speed. But guys, go up another 3 gears. 5th gear. His H-box, his car, was 6-speed gearbox. So he was nearly in top gear, and he got stalled. He didn't even have the proper engine speed going down the main straight, or even down that back straight where they come out of, turn 1, 2, 3, turn 3 and 4, okay? Down that back straight. He didn't even have anything for that. And Brazil is a very momentum track, okay? You need to keep the speed up. You need to keep the rhythm of the car going, because it's kind of like a roller coaster, lads, okay? Imagine you're on a roller coaster, but imagine the roller coaster gets bogged down, and this guy has to keep the momentum up. He's got to keep it flowing, free moving, bang, 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 bang. This is exactly what he had to go through. And not even that, the physical pain that this man had to go through to bring that car home. How he did it, honestly, lads, it defies logic. It defies logic. Put anybody in that car. Can you do it? I don't think so. I really don't think so. Let's look at Schumacher. Okay, so Schumacher's stats, guys, I'm just bringing it up on screen here. Well, obviously he's won the 7 World Championships, 94, 95 with Benetton, 2000, 2001, 2002, 2003, and 2004 with Ferrari. So 2 with Benetton, 5 with Ferrari. 91 wins, 29% win rate, unbelievable. Pole positions, 68, 25% pole rate. Podiums, 155. It's incredible. 50% of the races. 77 fastest laps. Now, guys, we're going to do the comparison now in just a moment, but even with Michael Schumacher, what he did in Hungary was, again, overwhelmingly amazing. He was out in the race. He was struggling. Ross Brawn gets on the phone. Ross Brawn, his engineer, he gets on the radio to him. He says, Michael, you need to pull out 11 qualifying laps to get in front and get the win, get the position, okay? And the guy puts out 11 qualifying laps back to back. He even goes off the track at one stage, but you can understand that because he was pushing so hard. Guys, I mean, yes, you're even in any racing driver is geared up to challenge, right? You should be able to do 11 qualifying laps in a row. But not at the level he did it, lads. Not at the level. Schumacher put in 100% effort and 100% ticking the box of brilliant qualifying lap 11 times in a row. Guys, even, like, you might be thinking, well, you know, but even the race car, guys, as I'm sure a lot of you know already, the qualifying setup is a lot different to the racing setup. And this guy put in 11 qualifying laps in race spec. Do you know how hard that is? Do you know, like, that's like Usain Bolt carrying someone on his back and doing the 100 meters in under 9 seconds. Or, sorry, under 10 seconds. That's the kind of thing we're talking about here, guys. A lot of people don't realize this, you know, because the car is going to be heavier, right? You've got, you're even adjusting the setup as well. Because sometimes you, like, let's say now, guys, even with the setup, you'll adjust, let's say, you'll soften the car, let's say. We'll go with that example. You'll soften the car, make it flex. Therefore, you get more grip, okay? And you might do that for a qualifying stint because you'll have maybe 1, 2, maybe 3 laps that your car will be really, really good, but then it'll fall off a cliff. So therefore, sometimes you have to sacrifice that because, again, you're going for 60, 70 laps or whatever the race distance is. That's a lot of laps comparing to, you know, that 1 or 2 quick laps, okay? And let's be honest, it's normally just the 1 quick lap. So even for him, he's going to have to sacrifice, okay, look, listen, lads, look, let's make the car a little stiffer. So they'll stiffen up the shocks. They'll stiffen up the whatever, the suspension or whatever it is, okay? They might adjust the ride height, something. So the car won't dig in as much for those 3 laps, but it'll just be consistent. So you're not looking for, I'm trying to make this in simple English, lads. Sorry if as in, I just want to keep this easy to understand. As in, like, you're not looking for 100% handling. You're looking for 95, 90% handling. Again, depending on the car. So then at least it'll last the distance. So you have to sacrifice something, you know? And then throw in the fuel load. That's going to matter with the handling as well of the car. So now you might actually soften or stiffen up the car based on the weight of the car as well. So it depends on which way you go. But the point is, guys, it's like saying it's the Earth versus the Moon for different car setups. And Michael Schumacher put in 11 qualifying laps. I can't make sense of it to this day. Now, let's look at the aura, okay? Ayrton Senna, we'll start with him. Senna's aura and his attitude towards the racing, and even the way he held himself, the way he walked around the garage, the way he was talking to his engineers, the way he'd look at different drivers, sizing them up and down. Senna was like a poet. He was pure emotion. And he cared. Like even that time when, lads, what was his name again? When the guy had a big crash in Spa, and he had a massive crash. Senna was driving past. Senna stops his car on the track, gets out and runs over to help him. Not many other drivers would do that. Now, it doesn't mean that the other drivers are a-holes or anything. No, because in normal terms, you see a red flag or a yellow flag. Oh, okay, there's a collision. And then sometimes if the red flag comes out, well, you just got to go into the pit lane, right? It's just the way you do it. But Senna had so much heart that he had to stop the bloody car, put his own kind of life in risk, because God forbid the car could have gone up in flames, right? And Senna was trying to help him. It was just unbelievable, man. And the way, like even Martin Brundle was saying this, that Martin Brundle, the lucky bastard, he drove with Senna against him in F3. And I think it was at Thruxton where the two of them were going into a corner, and Brundle said that Senna was behind him. Brundle was in the lead. Senna was in second. And Senna basically just went, there's a half a gap. I'm going, done. And Brundle knew that it was either the two of us are going to go off or he's going to take the lead. Can you imagine what that does to your head? You're in the lead. You're dominating. You've got some guy up your ass and you're thinking, I'm not making past this corner here. I'm not going to make past this corner. This is what we were talking about here with Senna. Now, let's look at Schumacher. Well, I mean, if there ever was that sort of cocky, dominant, nothing touches me, phases me attitude, it was Michael Schumacher. He had that stiff jaw, that look, and he would look at you like, not even in a arrogant prick way, as in like you're nothing to me. He would just give you that sort of look where he was almost entertained by you, as in like, oh, look at him, look at you. All right, yeah, you're lovely. Anyway, good luck. That was even worse. Even Nico Rosberg said that when they were teammates at Mercedes, Rosberg said that Rosberg didn't exist in Schumacher's world. That, my friends, is a very hard thing to get your head around. Like, he literally didn't exist. Now, there's no doubt about it. Schumacher was playing a mental game. Even Rosberg knew he was playing a mental game. But it still messed with his head. And it would mess with your head. 100%. You're like, okay, like, are you going to notice me any stage here, fella? Like, anything? You know what I mean? Now, okay, let's look at Senna's competitors, who he was up against, versus Schumacher's competitors. There's no question, and I'm sorry, Schumacher, there's no question, Senna had more tough competition. Now, let's look who he was up against. He was up against Piquet for a little bit. He was up against, brain fart, lads. He was up against Prost. Prost, one of the greats of all time. And he had some incredible competition and fights with that guy. I think we all know it, especially if you're an F1 fan. And Alain Prost was not easy to overtake. Alain Prost was not easy to beat. Alain Prost was not easy to win a championship against. Prost was the professor, they called him. He was unbelievable with car setup. Ayrton Senna was unbelievable too. But Prost, that was Prost's definitely advantage. Prost was just, he'd know exactly what the car was. In fact, Prost, like he was predicting what the car was going to do. So like, guys, you can record in your head, right? And you can do a lap by lap feedback and, oh, look, guys, so when we get to turn 1 and 2, the car is understeering. But then when we get to turn 3 and 4, it's kind of oversteery, snap over, something, whatever, right? Doesn't matter. But Prost would be able to predict what the car was going to do. Ayrton Senna, no question, was the greatest feedback driver of all time. He'd tell you what bump that was in turn 4, right? When you're coming out of the bend there, lads, just when you get to the top of the curve there's that little bump and it just knocks me over here. And then he could recall everything. I've seen the footage of him. It's unbelievable. Prost was not as good giving the feedback, but he was definitely the greatest of all time predicting what the car was going to do. So Prost would be able to go out and say, okay, look, lads, I've got understeer here now in turn 4 and 7 and 11, whatever, right? And he goes, well, look, lads, when we get to the race here now, the car's going to be understeering for the first few laps, but if we set the car up like this, I'll have a bit more bite in the car, and then after about the 7th or 8th lap, the car will probably go off. He was unreal. He was a fortune teller almost, like, right? This is who Senna was up against. And Senna got 3 world championships. Now, Prost got the 4. Unfortunately, Senna wasn't around, as we all know. But that's who we're up against. Not to mention Senna's unbelievable win in Monaco in the Lotus car, lads. I think it was 1986, if I recall, where he was in that black and gold car. He pissed all over everybody in the wet in Monaco. He made Alain Prost look like a leisure carter at the weekend. It was like Usain Bolt up against your overweight neighbour Ned. I mean, it was, honestly, lads, it was ridiculous. It was without a question the greatest wet racing drive of all time. It was unbelievable, man. And he's had so many. Now, let's look at Schumacher. Who was Schumacher up against? Well, this is up for debate. He was up against Jacques Villeneuve, brilliant driver. He lost the title to him. Okay, as we all know, Schumacher did have a little bumpy with Villeneuve. But Villeneuve came out on top. Unbelievably brilliant driver. A lot of balls. Villeneuve was a ballsy guy. And he was up against Hakkinen. He was obviously up against Senna for a couple of years until, Senna passed away. But Hakkinen was definitely his greatest opponent. Now, Hakkinen, for me, is definitely within the top 10 of all time. There's no question. Hakkinen was arguably, you can debate me on this, I think Senna was the best qualifier of all time. At the same time, I'm putting Mika Hakkinen either first or second on this one. Hakkinen was frighteningly quick. Guys, even Schumacher said it. Schumacher feared Mika Hakkinen. He really feared him. And you can see it in him. And even, guys, there's not many times where you watch a qualifying where you go, oh my God, like where it actually gives you a shiver down your spine or gives you like a fright. Watching Mika Hakkinen when he was in the zone, and he was in the zone a lot of the time in qualifying. When he was in the zone, man, there was one time, it was in Japan when he was qualifying, puts it on pole, and I had goosebumps. I actually had a fright at one stage, the way he was going through those the S curves, turn 1, 2, 3, 4. It was frightening. Right? This is the guy you're up against. Now, he did lack a little when it came to racing. Just now, when I say little, guys, we're talking now Senna and Schumacher standards here, okay? So, that's a hard one to level off. But, he just lacked just that little touch. So, he was frighteningly quick and brilliant in racing. But just sometimes if something didn't go his way, or if Schumacher even got in front of him, he would just not buckle under the pressure. No, but he would just sort of lose momentum a touch. Now, when I say a touch, lads, we're not even talking 1% here. We're talking like 0.25%. Okay, that's all we're talking about here. Like, but you know, we're going through flaws and all this sort of thing as well here, lads. All right, but that's the thing, is that Schumacher, I think, was able to get into his head just a touch. Now, forgive me for saying that. If you don't agree with me, I completely understand. In fact, even I'm having a bit of a debate over myself. Am I talking crap out of my ass on that one? I could be, lads. I really could be. Did he get into his head? I don't... jeez, you know what? Actually, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm talking out of my ass here on that one, lads. Okay. There's no two ways about it. The two lads could have been dirty. All right? Even I'm going to say it, and I'm sorry, lads. I'm sorry to say that, but I have to say it. They could get a little too aggressive, let's say. And here's the difference, though. And this is where I see the crack in the armor with the two of them. And this is a weird thing to say, believe me. I can't even believe I'm saying this. Senna would be dirty on purpose. Okay? So in other words, if Senna was behind you, Senna wanted to get in front of you, Senna would consciously say, right, F it, I'm going in for the kill. I'm going in for the gap. Either I go off the track or I don't. It was controlled. He shouldn't have never have done it. Nope. And to be honest, lads, this is a weakness in both of them. However, Senna did it controlled. Schumacher, when he was in a position where he had these scenarios, Damon Hill in Australia, Jacques Villeneuve in Jerez, he panicked. He panicked. He lost a little control. I actually don't think Schumacher meant to be, as in like Schumacher didn't go, right, I'm going to F him off the track now. I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that. He just got into a scenario where it was, oh my God. And it was a panic scenario. So he lost control. Whereas Senna knew exactly what he was doing. Even with Prost at Suzuka. Remember when he lost the championship the year before? And then the next year, he went, right, that's it. I'm either going into the corner, I take the lead, or we're both going off. He even said it afterwards, like, nah, whatever. And the two of them went off. Pure controlled. Now, can't even believe I'm talking about how good some dirty fella is. That's just, I mean, it is a ridiculous conversation, but it just goes to show you, lads, is that even in their baddest moments, their darkest moments, and that they were dark moments, but even in those dark moments, Senna still had the control. Schumacher had panic. So the final prediction, lads, here we go. Let's do a comparison quick again. Overall, Senna, 3 world championships. Michael Schumacher, 7. Senna, 41 wins. Michael Schumacher, 91 wins. Pole positions for Senna, 65. Pole positions for Schumacher, 68. Podiums for Senna, 80. Schumacher, 155 podiums. Fastest laps for Senna, 19. Fastest laps for Schumacher, 77. Now, lads, what you also have to remember here is that, yes, Schumacher's got an unbelievable amount of wins, okay? Obviously. And as the years went on, even in Senna's day, yes, Schumacher's wins versus Senna, like Senna now, 41 wins, Schumacher, 91. That's a huge difference, obviously. 50 wins. Schumacher had an unbelievably dominant car, an unbelievable driver. Let's cut the crap. And at the same time, there was a lot more races. So like even Hamilton, I think, what is he now? At 101 maybe or something? He's over 100 race wins, right? Some people think, oh my God, that's amazing. Yeah, it is. I mean, it is amazing. I mean, it's brilliant. But Hamilton had a really dominant car at Mercedes, okay? Which, obviously, brilliant for him, right? but there was so many more races now. Like, guys, we're up to, 24 races? Well, except for this year now, 2026, when the Iran war now is coming up. So we're at 22 races now. But, like, normally there's 24 races in a year. So if you have a dominant car, like even Verstappen, I think, what did he win? 21, I think, out of the 24? I'd have to look at the stats. But he basically won pretty much nearly every race, right, a couple of years ago. That's when he was dominant in the Red Bull. So if you have a good year, you're stacking up race wins, man. Like even when Senna was racing in Prost, like those guys had 12, 13 rounds, and then they started put it up to, 16, 17 rounds. Now we're up to 24. So, there's a lot more races at stake. There's a lot more race wins to be racked up as well. So it's a hard one to compare, that one. All right. Now, if you look at the percentages, okay, Senna had 25% win rate versus Schumacher's 25.37. So actually, sorry, Senna is 25.47 win rate. Schumacher, what is he? 29.39% win rate. Now, can you argue with that one? Does the percentages tell you everything? Maybe. But you just have that gut feeling, man. You just have that. Now, there's no doubt about it. Senna and I think it was Ramirez, his engineer, they were a great combination. Absolutely fantastic combination at McLaren. Then you had Schumacher and Ross Brawn. No doubt about it, Schumacher and Ross Brawn were the greatest combination of all time of engineer and aerodynamicist and driver. They were the all-star cast, man. The all-star cast. Senna and Ramirez, brilliant. Ramirez just wasn't up to the Ross Brawn era, okay? And that can matter a hell of a lot, lads. Now, before I call out who I think is the greatest of all time between these two, Ayrton Senna's win in Brazil that time, stuck in fifth gear, was the most unbelievably emotional, never give up, textbook never give up, digging deep, heart-wrenching performance of all time. It was unbelievable. It had everything. It ticked every box. And I think it was Vince Lombardi said, the greatest achievement a man can have in battle is lying there in victory, exhausted on the battlefield or on the pitch, track, wherever. And it was incredible. Now that if you look at Schumacher with his 11 laps in a row, the guy defied kind of logic here, lads. It shouldn't have happened. It shouldn't have happened that he did 11 in a row. And to me, that was the greatest drive of all time. Schumacher's 11 laps in a row. The greatest of all time. Senna had the most emotional, ticked every human raw emotion performance of all time. But if you look at, guys, how is it to be on the level? What's the textbook example of, being at the limit, getting the best out of you in the car? It was Michael Schumacher's performance. Senna's overall, Ayrton Senna, he's the GOAT. He's the GOAT, lads. Even Michael Schumacher, even he says it. Senna thinks that Fangio was the best of all time. Fangio, for me, number 3. He was, again, but we'll talk about him some other time. But Ayrton Senna, he was more emotional. He was more committed. He was more really, in a way, consistent. Now, even though the win stats tell you different, he was more consistent even on a bad day. Because I think as well, lads, when you have a bad day, how quick can you get yourself back? Where can you finish? Can you finish on the podium? Do you finish in 4th or 5th? Senna was able to recover quicker than Schumacher in those moments. Now, guys, when I say this, we're talking millimeters, okay? But those tiny little millimeters mean everything. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to wrap this up. But what makes a GOAT? The Michael Jordans, the Usain Bolts, the Ayrton Sennas. What makes it? What does make it? Is it the pure emotion? Is it the consistency? Is it the speed? Is it all of the above? What is it? Because people say Michael Jordan is the greatest athlete of all time. Probably is. Probably is. Ayrton Senna is the GOAT. There's drivers, even Eddie Jordan said this, lads, and, you know, God love you, sir, rest in peace, sir. But Eddie Jordan even said this a few years ago. He said that people go around the paddock saying, oh, well, this guy was the greatest of all time. But actually, really, they all know it was Ayrton Senna. Now, I might have misquoted him a couple of words here or whatever, but that's basically what Eddie Jordan said. It's almost like, yeah, lads, whatever. You're going to say him, but nah. They all know. And they do, lads. They all know. Every driver in the world knows. Every driver in the world. Ayrton Senna, God love you, sir, is the GOAT.
Walsh running the Irish green, and look at the move. He's making down to the inside.
Moves to the front. What a move from fifth all the way to the lead in lap 1.
Walsh takes win number 2.
Peter Walsh.